Demeter, the goddess of harvest, represents nurturing, the mother archetype, but also the cycles of life. She represents our ability to care and nurture for something and to protect what is really important to us, while at the same time learning to let go, because too much care can also suffocate whatever it is that we're trying to nurture. Hello and welcome back. If you're new to the channel, my name is Jada. In this series, we're diving into the different archetypes of Greek mythology as a tool for self-discovery and understanding ourselves better. If you haven't watched the introduction video, I'm going to link it up above and down below so you can have a look at it and get a better understanding on what this series is about. I am also going to link the playlist of the series down below so you can go and watch the other video as well. Demeter is probably best known for her relationship with her daughter Persephone and her abduction by Hades into the underworld. So Demeter was the definition of a mother. She was extremely doting and overprotective of her daughter. So when her daughter got kidnapped by Hades, she went into an extremely deep grief. First of all, in the beginning, she didn't know what happened. She just knew that her daughter was gone. As said in the beginning, she is the goddess of harvest. So because of her grief, nothing started to grow anymore. And the land went barren and there was no food left. And this is actually how the first winter ever came to be, because of Demeter grieving the loss of her own daughter. Eventually, Demeter found out where her daughter was, went to Zeus and insisted that she was brought back to her. However, due to certain circumstances, Persephone was not allowed to fully return to her mother. And basically, it depends on the version. There are like different versions of it. But it is said that she had to spend, like Persephone had to spend part of the year in the underworld and the other part in the upper world with her mother. And thus the seasons were created. So every time that Persephone had to go back to the underworld, Demeter would go into grief. The land would start to die down, going from fall into winter. And the moment that Persephone came back from the underworld, everything would start to grow again. So on one side, Demeter emphasizes the never-ending cycle of life, that everything is in constant flow and never can stay in one particular way. And that you can't hold on to something by force, that you need to let it go. You need to nurture something, you need to help it grow, but then you need to let it go. But also within ourselves, the ability to discern when something needs action and when something needs rest. So in Demeter's case, it was all about her daughter and nurturing her daughter and then understanding and learning that her daughter had grown up and she needed to let her go. But even in our personal life, it's about when do I need to work and when do I need to rest. So it's about the balance of the two, of the doing and the being. So a balanced Demeter is about someone who is very nurturing, who encourages growth and supports others. It could be a person, it could be a creative project, it could be work. It's just about this energy of nurturing and supporting and giving it room to grow, while at the same time caring for ourselves and respecting our own boundaries and limitations. An overemphasized Demeter obviously is like the classical helicopter mom who's way overprotective of her children, but even a project where she doesn't allow anyone else to do anything because she's like, I'm the only one who can take care of this. A way to counteract an overactive Demeter is by basically starting to let go. And in that case, it could be really helpful to start in small steps. If we look at it from a parenting perspective, maybe it's about starting to let your child decide small little things. Like before that, you always decided what he would order in a restaurant. So instead, you could start engaging or encouraging your kid or your child to make decision on its own. It's like, okay, what would you like to eat? And encourage that the child becomes more and more independent. Another way to counteract an overactive Demeter is by focusing on something else. So when, for example, you're really focused on something outside, it's also about learning to nurture yourself. Are you even taking good care of yourself? Or are you just taking care of everybody else and totally neglecting yourself? Pressed Demeter, on the other side, is someone who avoids nurturing altogether. It could be that person who doesn't want to take care of anything, who doesn't even have a plant at home. So if that is the case, it doesn't mean that you have to become a mother. So this is something really important to keep in mind as well. Demeter, even though she represents the archetype of the mother has nothing necessarily to do with being a parent. It's about the nurturing aspect of being a mother. So this could be with a plant if you have your own garden, but it could also be if you have an animal, or even being the good soul at work who takes care of her co-workers. So there's a lot of different ways on how this archetype can show up in your life. So if you're like, I don't really want to have kids, it's nothing that I'm interested in, that is totally okay. But if you're having a hard time of nurturing or taking care of someone or something else, a way to develop that part of yourself is, as already mentioned, getting a plant or even getting a pet. Know how Demeter shows up in your life, or rather the lack of her showing up in your life, and your ability to nurture and then let go, and accepting the ever-changing cycles of life. This is it for the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.